Like many of us, DeAnna and Tom Fickes' romance is a story that can be told in pictures. And this story started on a memorable date.
Tom and I met in 1999, and the year of the millennium. He'd come over and hung around with me for a couple, these 2 dates. And I just flat out told him, I don't want to spend the millennium with somebody that totally isn't awesome and is totally into me and thinks I'm great. Like, this is the millennium, right? This is the big one. So you're either into me and we're going, or you're not, and I'm not going with you. And then he said, no, I am, please come with me. And then the rest is history, I guess.
Tom grew up in Napa County, California, and at 18 he taught himself how to fall off of a horse and landed a job as a stuntman on the TV show Falcon Crest, where he started a thriving career as a stuntman.
He decided that he was going to propose to me in this really awesome stuntman way. He said, let me pour you a glass of wine. And I said, great. And he went to pour the glass of wine and he sliced his hand open. So next thing I know, he's like, oh my God, look at my hand, look at my hand. And there's blood all over his hand. He's got a towel. It's dripping onto the floor. The glass is shattered in the sink. So I'm thinking, oh my God, we've got to go to the ER. We've got to go to the ER. So he drops to one knee because he's holding his hand like this, right? Like, and I'm bawling. I'm like, oh my God, we got to get to the ER. You're dying. I'm trying to wrap it up. He had the ring in the blood. And finally, when he said, no, look closer, there was a wedding ring and he was down on one knee.
DeAnna and Tom worked and played hard. They had 2 beautiful children, bought a fixer-upper house, and started realizing their dreams. And then one day, DeAnna noticed something wasn't right.
He'd had this little nodule on his neck, and his mom said, what is that on your neck? And he said, if you think that one's bad, what do you think about the one under my arm? And he lifted up his arm, and he had like a baseball size. I mean, his arm didn't even protrude this way anymore. It went outward because it was so swollen. And she immediately made him go see a doctor that day, got him in. And I'll never forget, I was driving to the grocery store. And the results came in the next day. And he said, pull over. He said, I have leukemia.
The Fickes fought hard. They loved and played and lived. Then the treatment stopped working. And Tom's only chance of living was to get into a clinical trial. And those trials weren't accepting any new patients.
The clinical trials nurse at the time, Michelle, called Tom, and she was literally on the phone with him, saying to him, we have exhausted all of our avenues. I'm so sorry to tell you, but there is no possible way we can get you on any trial. Then she says, hold on, my other phone is ringing. Do you mind waiting? She answers the other phone in her office, and it's somebody from the Cal 101 trial dropping out. Within 72 hours, that man was once again on his favorite thing to do, which was mowing my lawn, and hardly any trace disease of the big lumps in his neck. That's how quick it worked for him.
That drug trial was a miracle for Tom's recovery. But then his cancer morphed. Tom had an emergency transplant and returned to traditional chemotherapy.
Once the effects of the chemo started hitting, it was so devastating. It's so horrific to see any human, let alone your husband, the person you've planned to spend the rest of your life with, go through this transformation. They start taking those series of pictures, and this is what cancer looks like. Fuck cancer. There were no words. There were no words to describe it. This series explains it, of beginning when we're smiling and like, hey, we're getting new cells today, thumbs up, to the end where they're mopping up his room because he's gone. I started to take those pictures thinking that when I was done with all of this, that I would use those as my research and my tools to continue to get people to fight with me against this disease. Like, there's no way that I'm never, ever going to stop raising money for this cause, and there's no way I'm ever gonna stop promoting so people are aware of how horrible this disease is and how it just wrecks and tears apart families. It takes fathers away from children and best friends away from wives and sons away from mothers. And nobody should have to be in that position ever.
After all of these years of fighting, there's no way DeAnna's quitting.
I told him on his deathbed, literally before I left, Tom Fickes will live on forever, not just in my mind, in my heart, but everybody's. That's my goal.
Now there are new pictures in Tom and DeAnna's story. Kids at school are showing their support, and DeAnna is writing to raise $100,000 to create a fellowship in Tom's name that fights leukemia. If you'd like to help the Fickes family fight cancer, go to tomlives.org. Not all of DeAnna's choices are clear right now, but she knows to create a fellowship in Tom's name, she needs to get back on the bike and hope others join the team.
So that's what I'll keep doing, I guess. Keep riding.